Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to get data from a website first. So what I want to do here first is show you the actual website that we're going to go to get data from. So the URL for this is inside the GitHub repository that we provided for you. So let's just walk through the web page here to show you what we're going to connect to. So if I just scroll down a little bit here, we can see there's this table of data that has countries, continental regions, statistical regions, and then some population data for 2018 and 2019. So what we're going to do is go back into the Power BI desktop, get ourselves into Power Query, and we're going to make a connection into this website so we can pull that data down into Power BI. So I'm just going to jump back over to the Power BI desktop. Okay, so I've got a blank Power BI desktop file opened. And once again, to get into the Power Query Editor, I'm going to go to this Queries group, click on the Transform Data command, and the Power Query Editor will open up. So what I'm going to do here now is, given that we're going to connect into a website, I'm going to go to the Home tab, New Query Group, click on New Source. And if I just go down this most common list here, we're going to see that web actually shows up in this list. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. We'll get taken to a dialog box that is going to ask for the URL of the website we're going to connect in. So I'm just going to go ahead and paste the URL in here to avoid having to type that in. So once I have that in here, now I can go ahead and click OK. So what Power Query is going to do here now is go ahead and take a look at how we should be connecting into that website. Now this is a public website, so we're just going to connect anonymously. But if you connect into other types of web data, there are a number of other ways that you can connect into it. So you can use Windows authentication, basic, a web API if we have that type of API to connect into, or an organizational account. But we're not going to dive into those right now because we are focused in on connecting into this anonymous source. So what I'm going to do here is now click Connect and let Power Query make a connection into the web page. And what is happening right now is it's taking a look at that website and seeing what can it connect into as structured data that we may want to pull into the Power Query Editor. Okay, so we've made the connection into the website. Now we can see in our Navigator dialog box here that we have a series of different HTML tables that we can make a connection to. So I'm just going to cycle through these and just show you what Power Query has found. So table number 1 is this information here. So we can take a look on the right-hand side of the screen and it will give us a preview of what that table data looks like. Go to this next one here. That doesn't look like what we want. We need to go all the way down to table number 3 before we actually get to the information that we want to pull off that website. So once we see the information that we want off of the particular source we're connecting into, we can click the checkbox right next to table number 3, and that's what we're going to use as the query to bring into Power Query Editor. So now at this point, I'm going to click OK. Power Query Editor is going to go ahead and make that connection into the website and pull that particular table of data down into the actual Power Query Editor. We can see that on the right-hand side of the screen now, several different things have happened in the source. So I'm going to leave the name at table 3 for the moment and just explain a few things here. So the source, this is the website that we connect into and all the source data itself. Then what happened is it went through and extracted the table from the HTML code that it found. Then Power Query Editor went and said, all right, well, it looks like this first row here likely should be your headers. So it promoted that into the headers. And then it went through and made some decisions on the data types that each one of these columns should get on a column by column basis. We're going to explore in a later sublesson how we should go through and take a look at these data types and make sure that Power BI actually did assign the correct types. All right, so this contains all the data we want. The last thing we want to do here is we're going to rename this query. So I'm just going to go ahead and here and paste country population data. Because what we want to do here in our queries is actually give them meaningful names so that should we ever pick up on this file at a later date, be it a day later, a week later, a month later, or we give this file over to somebody else to go ahead and maintain, that it's clear as to what that query actually does. Okay, so the last thing we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and save our work. So I'm going to go to the top of the screen here, hit the save icon. Now I'm prompted with a dialog box saying there's pending changes in your queries that haven't been applied, and that means applied into the data model. Do you want to apply them? What I'm going to do here is I'm just going to click Apply Later, which means we're going to apply all these transformational steps to the data model at a later time. So what I'm going to do here now is I'm just going to go over to my drive where I'm storing all my files. I'm just going to go into the file folder right here, and I'm just going to save this as sales data mart. So I'm just going to sales data mart.pbx, click save. I already had a file sitting there with that name. I'm just going to say go ahead and replace it because that's what I want to do. And now the file has been saved. So to give you a high-level walkthrough as to what has happened here is I'm just going to pull up a diagram from one of the previous lessons. Okay, so with our Power BI end-to-end process flow diagram back up, what we've done so far is on the far left-hand side of the diagram, we connected into a data source, which was the website. We extracted data from one of the tables off that website, and we brought it into the Power Query Editor. So far we've done an E. We really haven't done a transformation of this data yet because we've just brought it into the Power Query Editor and really done nothing with it at this point. And if you recall, when we had that dialog box, it was asking us if we wanted to apply the changes we made so far. What we did there was say, don't load that data over the data model. So that L step, which is taking data from the Power Query Editor and putting it in the data model, we actually said, we'll do that later. Apply those steps later on. So we're going to walk through these diagrams several times as we go through the rest of the sub-lessons here, just so you get a sense of how the mechanics are working on the Power Query Editor side. So with that, that brings us to the end of this sub-lesson.